opposite gloves here, and this is a video on the compound effect. So what is the deal with the compound effect? What do I give it? I give it like a 10 out of 10. 9 out of 10. It's up there, okay? And what is the deal? Why? This is a book on success, how to achieve success. It says jumpstart your income, your life, your success, and it's by Darren Hardy. It is a phenomenal book, and it's a tiny book. Like, look at that. It's an itty bitty book. Doesn't take that long to read. Now, there's a couple ways to read books like this. You could rip through the book in like a week or two and call that good, or you could take your time, go through the book. I think both ways are beneficial. One is just so you know what the book is about. The other way is then you're combing through, getting some finer details and really trying to change the way you're living your life. Now, the book itself basically says practice. It says if you practice, you'll get enormous results. That's pretty much the message of the book. If there was one word to describe it, I wouldn't say compound effect so much as daily practice. Guess that's 2 words. But anyways, practice. If I had one word, practice. And the reason is the compound effect is about how little practice, little things. Like you decide you want to get, let's just say, for example, you wanted to get exceptional at playing the piano. But if you hop into it, like this is what it points out. This is so true. This is a great book because a book's job is to increase your self-awareness of what is happening. And if it increases your self-awareness of your life, and that will therefore cause you to change, otherwise you're not more aware. You're right where you're at. If you know more things, that's great, but you did not become aware. Awareness is like you can't remain this way anymore. You have to change the way you're living your life. Otherwise, you just won't. You'll naturally change because you are now aware of something you were not aware of before. And so, for example, if you wanted to learn the piano, you wanted to become mega good at the piano, he points out that if you went at like 5 hours every day at the piano, you're going to burn yourself out and then you're not going to want to do piano anymore. Like, it's just what's going to happen. He goes into it in more detail. But if you were to like sit down and then maybe like the whole first week, you just write out a practice schedule, like a small one, like 10 minutes a day, I'm going to do this. And you do this every day, and over the course of 2 years, you start accumulating some massive results. Like at the end of the day, over the course of like the first year, people might not even see any result. They might not even think, no one's going to come up to you and say, hey, wow, I can't believe you're learning the piano, la, la, la. But at the end of like 4 years, if you practice every day, and of course, you vary it up, he gives a lot of advice. Like he really goes in depth where it's like, man, this is pretty much how it is. And what it is over the course of like 2 years, you could become a master. Like you could become a master. Now, the compound effect, the point is maybe for the first year and a half, you don't see any results really. Like you see some results, you start picking up things, but there'll be a moment where it all comes together. Because consider this, if you want to learn the piano, you've got to know how to read music. So first you've got to overcome this reading music thing. Once you're done with that, you're not done yet. You got to learn your scales. You got to gain finger dexterity. You got to gain all these basic talents. It's like this. The reason why the compound effect works is because this is how it works. That same small concerted effort you have to make to acquire each tiny skill. Now, it doesn't say this in the book, but this is how it is. You acquire all these tiny skills. And once you have these tiny skills, you put forth all these effort gaining them. Like each one takes equal amount of effort. Like if you want dexterity in your fingers, you're going to have to do dexterity exercises and just freaking learn those. If you want to learn how to read music, you're going to have to memorize the notes. And it's probably going to take just as much effort to memorize all these notes and how they look and the different rhythms and stuff as it is to gain the dexterity you need with your hands. Then you're going to have to learn how to combine your hands. Then you're going to have to learn just like little skills pile on. And people have written out like the order you should gain these skills in. And honestly, it doesn't take that much of a genius to figure it out. All you have to do is sit down and say, hey, what is my end goal? And what are the skills required to get there? And then you pick the ones that seem like they make sense to learn in. And you just break them down into small skills and you do this. So every day you work 10 minutes towards one of these small skills and you master one. And eventually you master more. And a lot of people, the thing about small skills is things that are easy. This is in the book, and John, I forgot his first name, Rohn says the same thing. He quotes him all the time, and he's quoted several times in this book. I can't remember if his name's Jim Rohn or John Rohn. I believe it's Jim. I don't know. Anyways, that it's something that's easy to do is also easy not to do. So people, these small skills, they don't really seem that hard. So they'll maybe learn 1 or 2, but they don't learn them all. And once you learn them all, the compound effect then comes into play because you've been putting the same amount of effort. Well, that same amount of effort you've had to take all these skills and learn them is the same amount of effort you're going to need to combine them. And so over time, through these tiny skills, you're going to hit a moment where things start combining with the same amount of effort, and then you just explode. He goes a lot further into it, but that's like why it works. That's why people take so long to learn how to do a basic talent, but after like 2 or 3 years of doing it, they become phenomenal. Like they start rocketing in their progression. And that's exactly why it works. But the reason why everyone doesn't do that is because it's difficult. You have to practice over time. That's pretty much what this book says. I really, really like it. He talks about, how to multiply your effects rather than just compound them. So there's a point where if you went the extra step further, you could just a little bit further, you could get way greater results. He talks about that. But most of the book is spent trying to make you aware of this principle, giving you examples about this principle. And it's spent convincing you. Now there are exercises, all these books, all these like sort of self-help books have this where they have exercises that will like, oh, go download this sheet and find out what you need to do kind of stuff. And that stuff's really, really good. And it's the action you should take. I'm also a big fan of sort of discovering for yourself what kind of actions you should take. I think if you figure it out for yourself, you take the ideas that he's given you and then you figure out how you're going to apply them exactly. I think that's just as powerful and potent. So I'm not always for that, because if I did that for every self-help book I read, I'd have like loads of crap to do. It would be overwhelming. So you have to like pull what are the best things that I can do, the best practices. This book has a couple. Some of them are one-time test things that are pretty cool. Like for example, of something gives you in the book, he talks about like 3 guys that simply make different choices. One guy pretty much remains the same. Another guy watches a little more TV and watches the food channel, picks up some recipes. So he starts to cook a little more food. Over the course of a year, he gains like 33 pounds or whatever, some weight. His relationship with his wife goes down. Like things that even just stopping bad habits will increase like you exponentially. Like you will experience the compound effect whether or not you know about it. Like that's the other thing. It is a governing force in your life. And so this book also helps sort of make you aware of that, like habits that you're doing every day. Like he gets into the idea of buying coffee every day. I think it was like a $4 cup of coffee for over the course of 2 years, something like that. Some amount of years is worth the price. No, it was 50 years. I believe it was 50 years. And you spend the same amount of money on coffee that you could buy a Mercedes-Benz. And so it's like, holy freaking crap. That's a lot of money just by spending like $4 on coffee. Now, of course, you don't do it every day. So it's probably not like every single day, but it still stacks up. It stacks up to be like $30,000-$40,000 just by buying that one thing, buying a soda every day. Just think about that. Of seven, okay, if you have 52 weeks in a year and you're spending $7, and that's assuming you're buying one soda. I mean, just think about it like this. If you were to do the math, you're going to start getting some pretty scary looking numbers. You're going to realize, holy crap, this is not worth that amount of money. And you're going to start pulling back. You're going to start changing the way you live your life. And that's what the compound effect is sort of about. So I totally recommend this book. You should totally read it. I don't care what you're doing. If it's music production, if it's something else, amazing book. Yeah. So if you have any questions, let me know. Great book. Subscribe and have a blessed day.